Hello and welcome to Europe Weekly. I'm Mariam Zaidi in Brussels. Coming up in the show, could the Irish border break already stalling Brexit negotiations? I'm glad you bring that up because I'm going to read you both out a tweet now. This was from someone, I'll reveal who it was later on Twitter. And what they said is that the way to avoid a border in Ireland is to have an overall UK-EU trade deal based on mutual recognition of standards, veterinary checks, etc. So, of course, British people, we love our pets. Those are the talks we ought to be holding. The delay is not on the British side. So, I can reveal to you, are you smiling because you know who it is? Now, this was a tweet, of course, by ECR MEP Daniel Hannan. Now, he seems to be reinventing what is essentially the single market, no?
Belgium's golden generation, a star-studded squad with plenty of firepower and individual talent. But can they turn their club's successes into national glory?
Belgium is now cruising to victory in this friendly match against Costa Rica, and when they get to the World Cup, predictions say that they have a 71% chance of reaching the knockout stage, but only a 4% chance of actually lifting the cup. But that's the thing about the beautiful game. He who dares wins. Mariam Zaidi, CGTN, Brussels. What will the EU parliamentary elections do? Well, it's going to be a very real reminder of the lack of ability of the UK Conservative Party to negotiate the UK out of the European Union.
Walid Khalil Murad was an Iraqi Yazidi businessman. He lived all his life in Sinjar province with his family. In 2014, they fled from ISIS fighters with just minutes to spare.
When I was in the sea, several times I wanted to remove my jacket. I couldn't face living. My friend Faisal said, "Walid, don't do it. Imagine if your family is alive."
Only 6 people on that boat survived. Walid lost all 8 members of his family. His wife, 2 sons, a daughter, his sister, 2 nephews and a niece. In this small town in Germany, where he is now resettled, he's rebuilding his life. He has a new wife, and one day he hopes he will be a father again.
Although I got married again, life is very difficult. If I wasn't willing to try, I wouldn't have got married. I miss playing with my kids. Germany is nice, but not for people like me who have lost hope in life.
After suffering such tragedy, Walid's courage is remarkable. And perhaps one day he will get the answers that he so desperately searches for. Mariam Zaidi, CGTN, Saarbrücken, Germany. Both the EU and the US have been found to have been at fault by the WTO dispute settlement body for continuing to provide some form of what's been deemed to be unlawful subsidies to their respective aircraft manufacturers, Boeing and Airbus. Now, what Wednesday's decision does, that it gives the US, of course, the power to retaliate big time against the EU. We know, of course, as you also say, that the US administration will want to impose tariffs on aircraft, on agri and industrial products, starting, of course, from October 18th. But, you know, is Donald Trump, the US president, really going to authorize dumping the whole $7.5 billion worth of tariffs on EU goods?
Hello and welcome to Election Night 2014 with Europarl TV.
For the next 3.5 hours, we'll be bringing the news as it happens here in the European Parliament.
All through the night, we'll have interviews, analysis, reports from European capitals, exit poll updates, and by the end, the results.
Exactly. Now, there's a lot hanging on these elections. What have 400 million voters made of the crisis? What are the challenges coming ahead?
I'm Paul Anderson.
And I'm Mariam Zaidi. Welcome to Election Night.
Down this country lane, little known to those not from these parts, is that you're crossing the border from Northern Ireland into the Republic. Road traffic signs are the only clues to your location.
How are we going, lads? Keep going. So we're actually in the north now at the minute. Yeah, there would have been old some military installations and checkpoints there, but they're gone.
The jury really is out on that, on whether Boris Johnson really does want a deal or not. What he's definitely done, though, is given the EU some food for thought today. You know, ever since these Brexit papers were hand-delivered to the EU Commission just around about 3 hours ago by Boris Johnson's Brexit envoy, Brussels has really kicked itself into gear. Just yesterday, a new deal didn't look likely, but very early on Thursday, that sort of doom and gloom really faded quickly, and by lunchtime, a deal was done, and with little delay, that draft agreement was then green-lighted by EU heads of state at the summit earlier on this evening in Brussels. Now, essentially, the main changes are on the Irish protocol. What the new deal does is ensure that this much-hated insurance policy agreed between the EU and the former UK Prime Minister Theresa May, the backstop, is now null and void. And that unity, so lauded when it came to Brexit, fell short on accession and the growth of the bloc itself. But this was a changing of the guard, a last summit for outgoing EU Presidents Donald Tusk and Jean-Claude Juncker, but also the last time, most likely, that an EU summit would be attended by 28 member states. Mariam Zaidi, CGTN, Brussels.